How you going, Greg Champion?
Laughing my head off and just living the dream over here, mate. Couldn't be happier.
I actually did bring a cuppa. I've got
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
a Love Your Sister mug, which is the name of my charity that was made for me by one of our supporters, and I'm having a chamomile tea so that I can stay calm because I'm trying to disguise my nerves
Uh,
because I'm a fan of yours.
you're a Victorian, you're a footy fan, are you, or what?
No, I'm a Could Have Been Champions fan.
Are you? So there is a
Yeah.
difference. A lot of people do say, especially the women folks, say they often say don't like footy, but like the program.
Yes, exactly. I fell out of love with footy, and my love with for the Coulda Beans has remained strong. My father passed about 10 years ago or so, but my fondest childhood memories were listening to the Coulda Beans on the radio with my father. It was a time of togetherness for me and my father. It was a time when it was something that I could rely on as a kid, and you made us laugh. And it was the talk back at the end that I waited for. That was to me the most exciting part. Was it you talking to Tony or you talking to Torch?
Yeah, it was Tony for the. You were talking to Tony for the first 20 years, and then you've been talking to Torch since. Tony didn't pass, but he passed on the move back to ABC and stayed at 3AW, and that's when it became talking to Torch.
Right. So I was right in remembering it as talking to Tony.
Yeah.
For the listeners that, or for anyone watching the podcast that don't know, Greg is a part of a radio team on ABC that's been around for how long, Greg?
77 years. That's how it feels because it starts next week, and this is my 39th year, but the program's 41st.
Wow. They're called the Could Have Been Champions. They were on a Sunday. Are you still on Sundays?
No, that ran for around about 20 years, and that hasn't run for about 6 or 7 now, but it was a good run.
You still get together occasionally, don't you? Last time you were
Oh, the Could Have Been program's still going. I'm sorry, it's just Sunday night's not still going.
right. When are you on now?
I beg your pardon?
When are you on now?
Yeah, we're on Saturday morning in footy season, and that's why we start on Saturday week in round one.
Gotcha.
When footy starts. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Actually, I haven't checked the schedule, but I suspect that the first footy game is Thursday fortnight, and so we come on the Saturday before the first game, which in the recent years has been on Thursday, but I haven't even checked.
Are you one of the longest standing broadcasters on the ABC?
One of the longest. We've licked everyone by 20 years. Boy, have we seen off some managers in our time. I think they say that Blue Hills ran for, I don't know how many years. I think we get compared to Blue Hills, but I think we might have knocked Blue Hills off quite some time ago. I'm not really sure. But if there's any radio program that's gone more than 41 years, then they should take a good hard look at themselves.
What's an average day like for you, mate? You know, can you share for me and for our listenership? Where are you? What does your average day entail? I mean, because you're more than a Could Have Been champion, right?
Are you talking about because a little bit of that broke up? But you asked me what does my average day entail?
Yeah, because you're more than a Could Have Been champion.
Away from the Could Have Beens you're talking, right?
Yeah.
Music and live performance has always been the gig. So that has several different directions. I go to festivals and do sort of original music, and then I do. But really, the bread and butter job became stand up at footy clubs. And then corporates took over for a few decades. So that's a short summation.
So did you spend much of your youth in South Australia?
All of it. All of it.
And you're still there now?
No, I moved east 41 years ago, and I've been plotting to move home for about the last 2 years, and I'm getting quite close to pulling it off.
Yeah, where are you going to go?
Back where I started, just back of Norwood, just in the foothills where it all began. It was a housing trust suburb called Hectorville. It's right next to McGill, which is right next to Norwood. The suburb became Hectorville and McGill when the boundaries changed, and it was a little piece of Elizabeth, if you like, and. These days, all the housing trust homes have been knocked down bar a handful, and it's upmarketed itself somewhat. It's moved up the food chain a bit, but that's where it was in the shadows of the Adelaide Hills, just adjacent to the foothills, in the Norwood eastern region.
Beautiful. Full circle, eh? It's funny how life works that way.
Well, Mum's still there and she's 90, and my brother is still there. He lives a few hundred metres from where we grew up, and there are cousins there, and an uncle. So there's plenty of family to go back to. I want to be back in that zone again. Yes.
That brings me very neatly to the issue of family. What's family to Greg Champion?
Parents divorced when I was 5, and Mum brought up 3 boys by herself in a housing trust home on a very low income, and that's why she ended up doing Saturdays in the pharmacy at Elizabeth. So she worked full time, but it wasn't quite enough money, so she had to take a 6th day driving to Elizabeth in a Morris Oxford, which back then 30k, 40k, maybe possibly even up to 50k, just to keep the family fed, the boys going, the family going.
I was brought up by a father who was a wizard. I saw him as a 2-in-1 kind of deal. He was effeminate. He was authoritative. He was a maternal figure and a paternal figure, and he was a wizard. And he equipped me to succeed and enjoy life. And he did it. He did it with no money on his own. Much like your mother did. And we've both been able to, your career's, storied and very well recognised. And I've now had nearly 3 decades in the game and have survived quite well. And it seems to me, at least in my case, that that this is almost entirely attributable to my wizard father. How much of your success in life as a human, not as a musician, as a human, how much of your success in life as a human had to do with your mother?
I haven't thought of it in quite the same terms as you have. I have total reverence for my mum, a total love and adoration, and I think she's a hero and a legend and a giant Australian for what she achieved. I haven't thought in terms of how much she's got to do with where I am today. I don't know if that's because I just feel that everybody is self-made in the end, but I couldn't have more adoration, respect, and I think for my mother than I do, and I think that goes for everyone who knows Mum in what she achieved, getting those 3 boys through childhood.
What is one of the more profound lessons that she taught you? My dad taught me never to bullshit myself. He said, I don't care if you bullshit other people, but just don't bullshit yourself. That was one of his enduring lessons. Another one was he taught me never to be bored. he came down on me really hard on the issue of boredom. He found it very arrogant of me to be bored in a world full of curiosities. So I would say two of my dad's most profound lessons were don't be bored and don't lie to yourself. What would you say are the enduring lessons that your mother's passed on to you?
I can give you a big one. Theosophy. When Mum had a huge challenges raising those three boys in 4 years. 3 boys in 4 years. 3 boys in 3 years. It was. We're 3 years apart.
Yeah, that's the definition of a handful.
She said, when a housing trust home, a 3-bedroom job, it's a light timber frame thing. They were kit homes, and there were stages during those teenage years where Mum went to the wall. She went to the wall a few times for us because of the challenges, and not the least of which the financial one. So when I was in my early mid-teens, Mum got into yoga, and then she ended up teaching yoga, and then from yoga she found theosophy. And you're reminding me that we had a routine at one point there of going to the Burnside Library every Friday night. So the 4 of us would get in what was probably then the Morris Oxford, or then she later upgraded, but that was the first car. She'd upgraded to an EH Holden, I reckon, or EK. It was an EK, it wasn't an EH. Scrap that, it was an EK with fins. And so the library was a routine that was helpful, but from yoga, she got into theosophy, and I reckon she probably did it through books from the Burnside Library. And theosophy, she then joined the Theosophical Society in Adelaide, and then she became president. Then she became national president of the Theosophical Society, and eventually she went to a lot of some world conferences of the Theosophical Society in India and Pakistan, and spoke at those. So she took this theosophy being a spiritual path of a kind. She went up that road, and that's had. I also am a big fan and student of theosophy and Buddhism. And is that an influence from Mum, or were we just two souls that were put together because of the same interest?
Yes, I say yes. Yes, it's almost a choice in how you attribute it, isn't it? It's definitely a like daughter, like son thing. But did it come through her, or did theosophy come to you both? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that, the theory, I'm tossing up a theory that we're like-minded souls that were born, in some of those, in Buddhism and theosophy, you might say, so it might be alleged that you might get to choose, your family ahead, to put it very crudely and roughly, and possibly we were just drawn to each other.
Yeah. Hang on. Assuming that some of our listeners are as ignorant to theosophy as I am, how would you describe it?
Yeah, I would try and be really brief. Theosophists have a joke about it. They say if you see a sign that says "this way to God," and the other sign says "this way to a discussion group about God," they take the discussion group. That's one definition.
Okay.
I think theosophy means a study of God, but it's probably a study of religion.
Yes.
All religions.
Yes. It's not one particular religion. It's an overarching
spirituality.
Spirituality. Yes, I understand.
You might argue that it's just theosophy is spirituality almost.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Hey, what don't people know about you, Greg? What I mean, I know about your music. I know about your theosophy. I know a little bit about your background, your single parent background, and your frugal upbringing. Is there I'm searching because I'm so familiar with you, Greg. I've heard your voice for so many years, and you've made me laugh so many times, particularly growing up, and then whenever I can as an adult. I'm not interested in describing you for our audience. How would you describe yourself?
It would have been easier to stick with the question, what don't people know? What don't I know about you?
Yeah, change the question. What's something that people don't know about you?
The last 15 years I've been doing athletics.
What?
Old folks athletics.
What, or Pulver? Pulver?
No, but I have friends my age who do. I know people my age
Kidding.
who do. Yeah.
What?
But I do hurdle.
Oh, no, don't. Oh, mate, we fall over at this age.
Yeah.
Why do you do hurdles?
It's still fun and I can still do it.
What? Please explain.
Well,
I mean, how do you fall in love with hurdles, bro?
I did it at school, and when I took athletics up again at 50, and a lot of people do take athletics up again around 50, possibly because their teen kids are doing it and they go and watch and then they get involved. That's what I found.
Right.
So I took at 50, my body was still able to hurdle, so I kept doing it.
I love that. I'm so glad, because I'm very critical of myself. This is the first podcast I've done, and I've been feeling like such an idiot with my stupid questions. And I'm so glad that I asked you that question, because now I can just see you hurdling. Now I can see it. I imagine that you attack it with vigor and gusto and suitable youthfulness.
Or if you don't, you will fall over. You better have a red hot dip, and the slower you go, the worse it'll get.
You can't half jump hurdles, can you? When I got asked who I was recently, I got it all wrong, and it took a lot of thought, and I went the long way around. But I worked out that I'm probably, if I had to describe who I was, I'd probably say that I'm a 12-month-old puppy on the back of a ute doing 110. How would you describe who you are?
Oh, seeing yourself is the hardest thing ever, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It took me 40 years to get to that one.
Well, I still, I don't know if I want to answer. It's kind of up to others how they see you. You just try and.
Oh, that's a good answer.
No.
Yeah, perception anyway, isn't it?
Well, I don't know if I know who I am. You try and be what you are, but it's up to others to.
Yeah. I try and be the best bits of all the people I meet. So I think that I actually don't have an identity of my own. I'm pretty much a collage of. I just try and if I meet a person that shows great grace, for example, I'll really try and steal some of that grace from them and try and adopt it and apply it myself. So I find that I'm a hodgepodge of all of these amazing people I've met who I want to be like.
Well, that's a beautiful thing. That's inspiring. I can relate to it. There are people, friends that you admire. You admire certain qualities in friends or strangers.
Yes.
And those qualities, if you admire those qualities in strangers, I sometimes think, I wish I had, or I hope I have some
Yes.
of those qualities, because if you can see it in other people, hopefully you can be it or get some of it, or
Exactly.
see it because you are it, or you want to be it.
I couldn't agree with you more. Hey, listen, do you mind if we finish? If you have time and the inclination, of course. For our listeners or viewers, Greg Champion's been kind enough to contribute a letter to his mum for our newest book, Dear Mum. It's a lovingly curated collection of over 90 letters to mothers, written by some of Australia's most notable notables, including yourself, Greg Champion. But you're in great company. We've got Amanda Keller, Guy Pearce, Rebecca Gibney, Shane Jacobson, Richard Wilkins, Jackie Lambie, Shannon Knoll, David Astle, Churia Pitt, many more. A couple of Australians of the Year as well. It's a book that I'm immensely proud of. I grew up without a mum, and then when my sister was a young mum, she left her kids without a mum. So my family has been hampered by an absence of mums, and this book has been made in recognition of the importance of mothers. And it's an incredibly important book to me, Greg, and having you in it means a great deal to me. Would you do me the honor of reading your letter to your mum for me? Because I've read it over and over again off the page, but I would love to hear it in your voice. Would that be okay?
You ready? Are we ready?
Oh, fantastic. Don't feel me weird, but I'm going to close my eyes while I listen. I find it helps me listen better.
Well, I'm going to take my glasses off, so I don't see you that well anyway, mate.
Okay, you take your glasses off. I'll close my eyes and let's do this letter.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah, ready.
Rolling?
Thank you.
Rolling? Is the tape rolling?
Yep, rolling.
Okay. Dear Mum, or Mummy, as I still call you too, we two are about as close as we could be. I trust you'd agree. You raised 3 boys born within 3 years, all on your own, in a housing trust home on a low income. You work 6 days a week at times, and Saturdays involve driving 25 kilometres to Elizabeth to work in a pharmacy. I hadn't realised I'd written that in here. You didn't have a car in our early years. I think you rode 2 kilometres to a pharmacy on a bike. Our first car was a second-hand Morris Oxford. It was no limo, but it did the job. So 3 boys spanning 3 years in age and Mum are living in a small 3-bedroom place with the thinnest of walls. Dad had left when I was 5. My brothers were 7 and 4. When I was about 12, I was so bad-tempered and combative, you had to arrange for me to go to regular child guidance counselling. This went on for a year or more. Once I didn't speak to my older brother for 6 weeks, which is awkward when you're catching the same buses to school and back. I only raise these things because these are the massive challenges you faced, and almost wholly without considering another partner for 15 to 20 years. You just remained solo. At one point you became so understandably overwhelmed and so near a breakdown that we 3 boys had to be shared out to support families while you took 2 weeks of total rest and recovery. One boy went to cousins, one to grandparents, and I went to the neighbours. Thank you, Yvonne and Max. Arthur. Our own relationship was strained for 6 to 17 years, only because it seems I was struggling with the tight domestic situation, the dad departure and adolescence. I moved out as I turned 19 and things began improving from there and never looked back. By the time I was 24, I was living interstate and you were lending me small amounts and I was going to the post office weekly on payday and posting you back repayments. You stood by your sons like a rock. You never once wavered in your complete commitment and devotion to your role. When you could, you watched me play footy on Saturday mornings at 8:30, come rain or mud. In 6 years of school footy, my dad didn't see a game. I looked at the other dads and with envy. We 4 had a Friday night ritual of travelling to Burnside Library. That awakened in us all an appreciation for the magic of books, and in my mid-teens you discovered yoga. You then taught yoga for years, and from there you discovered theosophy. You went on to become Australian president of the Theosophical Society and ended up giving talks on theosophy in Pakistan, New Zealand, India and Australia. And now we too have shared a common love for theosophy for decades. I've been to the National Convention with you and to other society meetings. Did you awaken me to theosophy, or was I going there anyway? My hunch is, and we've discussed this, that we are 2 like-minded souls who are drawn to each other and were destined to come into each other's spheres. We feel we are 2 souls who are meant to link up. You have turned 90 now and we're still living alone. You're still living alone and driving. We are all in awe and admiration of your beautiful soul. I love you.
Thank you, James.
It's been a total pleasure, a real delight.
It's only fitting to end it there. I think that's I'm very grateful. That was very special for me to hear. I appreciate you reading it for us, and if you could pass on my love to your mother, even though I'm a veritable stranger.
Well, I hope to be able to get access this chat
Yeah.
and show it to her. That would be the nicest thing for Mum.
It's the disconnects that this the pandemic is causing are heartbreaking, to say the least. Thank you, my friend.
It's been lovely to meet you. A total joy.
You too. All the best. You take care. I hope to speak to you again.
Catch you, mate.
See you, mate.